of the Ajaokuta Steel Company to commence operation fully since its inception, standing in the name of Honorable Femi Bajabia Mila. Honorable members will recall the matter was referred to the committee on Thursday, 1st March 2018. Report is ready for presentation. The leader is now invited to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I rise to move for the presentation of the ad hoc committee report on the reasons for the failure of Ajaokuta Steel Company to commence operation fully since inception. HR 782018. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I so move.
Seconder, Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, I like to second the motion as moved by the leader to present the report. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Leader is invited to proceed and lay the report. Honorable members, the third business of the day is presentation of two reports of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values, standing in the name of Honorable Odebumi Olusegun Dokun. Honorable members who recall that bills were referred to the committee on Thursday, 23rd November 2017, and Thursday, 4th May 2017, respectively. Reports are ready for presentation, and Honorable Odebumi is now invited to present the reports.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague. Odebumi Segun is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere Igboulua Federal Constituency. I rise this afternoon to present a that the House will receive the report on the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values on a bill for an act to amend the Nigeria Television Authority Act Cap 136, Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for related matter. May I go ahead for the number 3 also? That the House will receive the report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Value on a bill for an act to amend the display and the use of the national flag, certain flags, and the National Code of Arms Act, Cap of Federation 30, Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for related matter. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder.
This is the Nigerian Television Authority reaching you live from the National Assembly for a live telecast of proceedings on the floor of the Green Chambers, that is the House of Representatives. So far, the clerk has read 3 bills at first reading, and at this moment, the Chairman House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values, Honorable Odebumi Olusegun Dokun, is presenting a report on information, national orientation, and values on the bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Television Authority Act, Cap 136, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria. Do stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the proceedings.
So second, Mr. Speaker. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Segun, please proceed and lay the reports. First order of the day, honorable colleagues. First order of the day, honorable colleagues, is consolidation of 3 bills. Honorable members may wish to note the bills on the same subject matter. I now invite the chairman, Committee on Rules and Business. I now invite the Chairman, Committee on Rules and Business, to move that the bills be now consolidated.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, my name is Edward Pojok. I represent the South East of Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, may I move that a bill for an act to amend the National Identity Management Commission Act, Cap N54, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to, among other things, delete the provisions of Section 5, sub O, and stipulate a time limit for the issuance of the permanent national identity card and for related matters. A bill for an act to amend the National Identity Management Commission Act, Cap N54, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to provide for the procedure and principles to be followed by persons collecting personal data in an electronic form for processing and protection of privacy in a framework that will guarantee and regulate digital data privacy and protection of individual or organized private sector, and provide a mechanism for collection, processing, retention, disclosure, destruction, usage, and treatment of the digital data in Nigeria to protect the legal interests of affected persons in collection and usage and for related matters. And a bill for an act to amend the National Identity Management Commission Act, Cap N54, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to provide for recapture, revalidation, and reissuance of a new national identity card to those that were so captured before attaining the age of 18 years, and to remove the expiring date of the national identity card and for related matters be consolidated as one bill. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Chairman FCT, is like you are rusty now, so please, could you second? Give him.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, but I think I'm... Okay, so, Jeff, I represent the good people of Burugu, my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. I stand to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman, Rules and Business. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Committee on Rules and Business, please schedule a date for the commencement of debate on the general principles of the bill. Second order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on the general principles of bill for an act to amend the Public Holidays Act, Chapter P40, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to bring the act in tandem with the current realities and exigencies of the modern times, and to declare June 12 as Democracy Day in Nigeria for related matters, standing the names of Honorable Edward Young Pajok, Honorable Kayode Oladele, honorable members who recall that the bills were consolidated on Wednesday, 21st November 2018. I now invite Honorable Pajok to move that the bill be now read a second time. Honorable Pajok, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I remain Edward Pajok, represent the South East. Mr. Speaker, may I move for a bill, an act to amend the Public Holidays Act, Cap P40, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to bring the act in tandem with the current realities and exigencies of the modern times, and to declare June 12 as Democracy Day in Nigeria and for related matters, HB 918 and 1529. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Retired Comrade Aminu Suleiman, can you second, please?
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Kano State, and my name is Authentic Comrade Aminu Suleiman. I represent Page Federal Constituency. Because I'm a believer in June 12, I have the pleasure to second this bill as ably moved by the Chair, House Rules. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Pajok, you can now lead the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, we would recall that some months ago, Mr. President had declared June 12 as a public holiday, and there was a motion on the floor of this House to commend Mr. President. However, that motion was a bit controversial, and the reason was obvious, because for us to have a public holiday in Nigeria, it must enjoy legislative backing, because the law as it exists already has a Public Holidays Act, and it's a schedule that stipulates that May 29th of each year is set aside as a public holiday to celebrate democracy in Nigeria. So to give effect to June 12th as a public holiday, we ought to amend the schedule to that act, because in the schedule there's an item that states clearly that May 29th is the day set aside to celebrate Democracy Day in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, I would recall that on June 12th, this year, we didn't celebrate Democracy Day because of the observations raised by the National Assembly, that the National Assembly must enact that law before it is so celebrated. Mr. Speaker, it is because of that that we are bringing this bill before this hallowed chambers this morning, so that we will be in line with the law. Mr. Speaker, the Public Holidays Act in so many countries allows for declaration of public holidays. And in the brief that I have circulated around, you see an analysis of some few countries in terms of the number of days that some countries celebrate as public holidays. In Nigeria, as of now, it's about 10 days. In South Africa, it's about 13 to 14 days, because it's not specific. It changes from year to year. In the USA, it's about 11 days. In the UK, they even have what are called bank holidays, about 8 days. In India, about 11 days. In Russia, it's about 16 days. China tops it, about 27 days. As a matter of fact, in some periods of the year, for 1 week or whole 2 weeks, will be declared as public holidays in China to celebrate certain events. Mr. Speaker, the reason why many countries, including Nigeria, celebrate some public holidays is mostly to celebrate some religious festivals like Christmas, Eid al-Maulud, Easter. We also celebrate independence. We also celebrate Workers' Day, like May 1st. But there are some individuals too who, by their outstanding contributions to society, have so immortalized themselves that those societies find it worthwhile to set aside some days to remember those individuals and celebrate them. An example is in the US, for instance. It was even a conservative president like Ronald Reagan that set aside the birthday of the Reverend Martin Luther King as a national day for public holiday in the US. So, Mr. Speaker, we think that in Nigeria, we ought to also celebrate democracy, because this House now is a democratic institution. Before, if there's no democracy, you have the judiciary in existence, you have the executive in existence, but you don't have the legislature. So it is the legislature that proves the essence of democracy. And since 1999, democracy has been thriving in Nigeria. So we ought to celebrate democracy. The question may be asked by some colleagues that, well, we already have May 29th as Democracy Day. But Mr. Speaker, is May 29th really the day that we ought to celebrate democracy? May 29th was a day that ushered in the Fourth Republic, when the then President Obasanjo, who took over from General Abdulsalami Abubakar, became the elected president of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, in the US, it is January 20th of every 4th year that you have presidential inauguration. In Nigeria, probably next year, May 29th, there will be a presidential inauguration along with so many governors. But the year after, May 29th of 2020, 2021, there may not be any presidential inauguration and also for so many governors. So we just find that Nigerians will not go to work on that day. Meanwhile, nothing is happening in the country. Are we not wasting man hours? That really the essence of democracy. So why in the US, it's not every January 20th that is celebrated as Democracy Day. It's only in the year when there will be inauguration of the president that you now have the country declare a public holiday. And as a matter of fact, we have about 7 states now that the courts have nullified the elections of their governors. So that has altered the day of their inauguration. States like Ekiti, Bayelsa, Oshun, Edo, and some other states, they have altered their inauguration days. Who knows whether sometime in the future, the court may even nullify the election of a president. That means even on May 59, you will not even be having any inauguration of a president. So we think that there's nothing sacrosanct about that date, but we think that June 12th is more opposite to celebrate as Democracy Day, because on June 12, 1993, if we may recall, on that day, we had what has been referred to as the freest and fairest election conducted in Nigeria of the date. And by celebrating that day, we're not only celebrating the symbol of democracy of that time, Chief Abiola, but so many others also who lost their lives, including even those who organized elections, like Professor Humphrey Onwosu, who organized that credible elections. Mr. Speaker, so many Nigerians lost their lives, so many Nigerians lost their businesses, and it was the crisis that attended that election, aborted as it was, that even ushered in this fourth republic. We recall that even General Abacha convened a national constitutional conference, which was well attended, and it was from that conference that people like the late Tafi Nakasina, General Shehu Yar'Adua attended. Some of them also lost their lives because of their struggle for democracy, which was also built on the struggle to actualize the June 12 no mandate. So, Mr. Speaker, we ought to set aside that specific day as the day that really is our Democracy Day in our country. And it will remind us that democracy is very, very important. As a matter of fact, on that day, Nigerians subordinated their primordial interests and inclinations to even voting the SDP ticket, which was made of a Muslim as the presidential flag bearer of the SDP, and another Muslim, Baba Gana Kinkibe, as the presidential flag bearer of the SDP, against even the NRC candidate, which had a Muslim Christian candidate. I think that those who annulled that election did a great disservice to Nigeria, because if we had sustained that the victory of that election, probably today we wouldn't be talking about we must always balance interests based on religion or based on region. So it may even serve as a reminder that we are one Nigerian, that we ought to look at the essence of democracy. Mr. Speaker, that is the reason why we are bringing this bill, so that we would have that day set aside as a day to celebrate democracy, and to remind us that this institution, that is the National Assembly of the Nation, exists because of democracy, so that each time when we are celebrating that day, we also think about those who have lost their lives. There were even journalists like Bagoda Kautu and so many others. I will now know that the democracy that we enjoy was watered by the blood of so many Nigerians. Mr. Speaker, this is the bill that we have brought, and I urge honorable colleagues to please support this bill in the national interest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Then the Honorable, not Comrade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Lasun Yusuf. I represent the Repodun, Olorunda, Orolu, Osogbo Federal Constituency. I'm from Osun State. That beautiful day in 1993, when we had the presidential election through one of the most popular systems that is now being entrenched in our democratic setting. That is option A4. The earlier speaker said something that is very touching, that if we do not decide to make June 12th a public holiday, and we stick to May 29 as our democracy day, there might come a time in future when the president of this country is not likely to be inaugurated on May 29, and we're going to have problems. But Mr. Speaker, I stand up to contribute to this bill because of one salient factor.
Order, honorable colleagues, order.
There is one salient factor since 1993 that we have not succeeded in correcting, and it's still with us. And I always emphasize it when we talk on the Electoral Act, and particularly the Constitution too. In Nigeria electoral process, there is a big difference between the result that is announced at the polling unit and the declaration of the result itself. And I think one of the major problems of that election, which is still with us today, is the fact that we have not paid attention to the fact that the mere fact that you know the result of an election does not mean that that result can stand. Because on an election day, somebody is solely appointed to declare the result of an election. And this person so appointed, in almost all the cases, is never a member of the electoral body. Such a person is appointed to perform such specific duty. Mr. Speaker, this is an
order, honorable colleagues. Zachary Mohammed.
This is an important part of the electoral process, that announcement of results is not tantamount to declaring the result itself. And so, in between the announcement and declaration of results, a lot of things can come in. What was actually wrong with June 12, 1993 election was there was a time lag between the announcement of results and declaration of results, because the results of that election were already known by everybody. And in fact, if it had been the present day, when you have social media, the result will have even been declared by individual. Mr. Speaker, that's the first lesson I feel we must learn from June 12, 1993 election. And of course, although it's not late, and I'm still planning to do it, to bring a bill to be able to guard the electoral body, to make sure that once electoral process it commences, in between the announcement of results and declaration of results, nothing happens to the results. We have even witnessed examples in recent elections. In my state, there was a little bit of time between announcing and declaring. And so it will have happened during Buhari and Jonathan, when that, what is his name now, Dubem or something, was about to cause a little bit more problem. It will have been a problem. So it is a lesson that we must have learned from that election, and it is something that we have to correct. That the mere fact that you know the result of an election does not mean that that election has been won and lost. And people have always been picking on that loophole. That's the first lesson. The second lesson, which Honorable Pajok has mentioned, it is the first time in the history of election in Nigeria where primordial settings, primordial matters were set aside: ethnicity, religion, who you are, what is your face, how do you look like, did not matter on June 12, 1993. I wish Nigeria can go back to that particular day. And I wish that we can repeat that particular day in our life. Not until we are able to do that. We have a very long way to go. Because in Nigeria today, people want to know which religion you practice, your ethnicity, your ethnic background, who your father is, who nominates you, who is your godfather, whether you are going to be a law-abiding or loyal to the system or to the individual, all these are primordial settings that are guiding the emergence of candidates these days. That particular election, there was no sign of such. That's a beautiful thing that we have to learn to. Primordial settings were set aside. Another thing that is important was that the vote actually counted. The votes of June 12, 1993 actually counted. And that was why, even in an election where immediately people were counted in the queue, they dispersed and no vote got missing. These days, even when you did not disperse, when records were taken, votes will still be missing. So, Mr. Speaker, if we look at June 12 in totality, it is not by the holiday aspect of it that matters, but so many lessons we should have learned from the electoral process of that particular year that culminated into June 12 itself and produced a president that was never declared. And that's why people have been running away. And I will use this medium. I hope one of our elder statesmen who participated in that election will listen to me. If he's not watching me now, maybe in future when he does, he will hone up and for the first time agreed that he lost that particular June 12, 1993 election. When he does that, he becomes one of the few that we can always remember to. Everybody praised Jonathan some 48 hours ago by simply conceding defeat in 2015 election. If not for Jonathan, democracy in Nigeria will have gone haywire. It will have gone otherwise. That particular feat that Jonathan recorded in 2015, I want Bashiru Tofa to do the same thing. And for the first time, it's for posterity's sake. For the man to agree that that election was actually won and lost, won by somebody who was not declared, and lost by somebody who has never agreed that he lost that election. For the lessons to be complete, Mr. Speaker, while I'm agreeing to the fact that June 12 should be declared as holiday in Nigeria, specifically as Democracy Day, there were so many lessons, both electoral, human, and posterity's sake, that we can take from that June 12. And each time I remember that on June 12, 1993, not only that I took active part, I've already been a politician for some time, and those of us who actually took active part are always happy that we're part of that particular history-making day. Honorable colleagues, this is my contribution, and like I said, how I wish that Nigeria can go back to what happened in 1993, June 12, and begin to imbibe the spirit of that particular election and make sure we inculcate them and use them in our future endeavor. Thank you very much.
Honorable Aminu Suleiman.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Kano State, and my name is Comrade Aminu Suleiman. I represent Paje Federal Constituency. Honorable Speaker, my colleagues, I am on my feet to actually lend my weight to this very, very patriotic attempt by Honorable Bajok to give legislative bite to a presidential announcement. I think without this singular and very patriotic intervention, this very rightful and holistic action by Mr. President could be set aside by any other person after his office. The importance of June 12 for every patriotic Nigerian, Mr. Speaker, cannot be overemphasized. Like the DS said, you sincerely also have the privilege of walking on the street of Lagos in spite of where I came from, in spite of the fact that I share the same state with the person who contested alongside Moshood, MKO Abiola. And I think it was a near unanimity by all Nigerians that the winner, or the denied winner of that election, actually won. But I think the most important thing, like DS highlighted, and which Pajok too set his foundation upon, is the fact that as Nigerians, we have for the first time poured the evil of primordial sentiments as it relates to ethnicity, to religion, to geopolitical zone. And this particular evil has been the bane of our unity and development as a nation. And therefore, Mr. President was perfectly right. And what we are doing as legislature is to legally and constitutionally give back to this very historic intervention by the executive. Honorable Speaker, even on this floor, I do remember the day we debated this thing, it was near unanimity. Nobody spoke against that pronouncement. Probably the approach and the process was challenged by some of our colleagues. And therefore, what we are doing or about to do now is to ensure that we give legal backing and we build a process whereby, as a country, we begin the process of healing and unifying ourselves. I urge my colleagues that we give a strong and unanimous support to this so that history will remember that during the reign of Honorable Yakubu Dogara and very many of us here, we stood on what we believe will set a development pace for the country. I so support, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable MT Monguno.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marke Monguno Ganzai Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, it is with deep sense of nostalgia I will recall the events that led to the annulment of the June 12 election, because I was a member of this hallowed chambers during the ill-fated Third Republic. And I can also vividly recall with nostalgia that this house, as it was then constituted, passed a resolution requesting for the actualization of the mandate freely given to the late Chief MKO Abiola by the Nigerian people. But because of the fact that during that point in time, we are operating what I will call a diarchy, where we have the military vis-a-vis an elected parliament operating together. And as a result, our powers are considerably constrained to only legislating on cultural matters and what have you. And as such, the resolution that we passed was not recognized by the military. So I salute the courage and determination of this hallowed assembly as it was then constituted, for standing by the Nigerian people, by standing with the firm Nigerian mandate that was given to Chief MKO Abiola, irrespective of geographical inclination, religious inclination, or ethnic inclination. As rightly observed by the previous speakers, it is the most freest and fairest election ever conducted in Nigeria, because I happen to be an active participant since that period in time up to present day. And I've witnessed all elections, and I am an active participant. So it is very good and germane for the present government to realize that there is a need for us to declare June 12th as a public holiday in realization of the struggles that was put in by various actors at that period in time, which led to even some of them paying the supreme price for the realization of this mandate, and also to give legislative teeth for that pronouncement by the executive, so that it will not be at the whims and caprices of a subsequent government that may decide to throw it to the dustbin of history. So I support the second reading of this bill. Thank you.
Deputy Whip.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I like to support this very important and momentous bill. Mr. Speaker, the reason for laying monuments and declaring holidays is to have either a place or a period to make people engage in sober reflection. Take a look at maybe their national life or events that tend to call to mind the finest points in the history of that community or country. There's no use calling for a public holiday that just, marks maybe an event like the chief sponsor said, the inauguration of the president, which can be affected by events later. But June 12th has shown Nigerians that truth, crushed to earth, has a way of rising again. At long last, only last year, Mr. President himself, nobody knows what side of the divide he was at the time, came to the realization to recognize the importance, the monumental importance of June 12th. And he went ahead to bequeath posthumously the honor, the highest honor in this land, on the winner of that election. But for us who are living, we need a date such as June 12th to always call to mind the finest moment in democratic practice in this country. A day when Nigerians were not induced by vote buying to do what they had to do. Nigerians were not teleguided or helped by electronic system to do what they had to do. Nigerians did what they did even without ballot papers. What is more, they filed out and they were counted one by one in every part of this country. Thugs and hooligans did not come after them, Mr. Speaker. Security agents were not used to harass them. We need to have a date that helps to call to mind the finest moment of democratic practice that Nigeria must copy. And that is why June 12th, as has already been argued by earlier speakers, with all the finest points that it signposts, June 12th irrespective of where you belong or where you belonged when June 12 happened, we have all come to the realization that the best way for this country to grow democratically is to imbibe those practices that gave rise to June 12. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I urge every member of this hallowed chamber to be on the right side of history, because posterity will salute us if we pass this bill and it is credited to the 8th Assembly. You will then say, I was a proud member of the 8th Assembly that helped Nigeria to always call to mind the best moment in Nigerian history of good democratic practice. I urge members to rise up and support this bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Jones Onyerere.
Mr. Speaker, my dear honorable colleagues, Honorable Sir Jones Chukwudi Onyerere, representing the largest federal constituency in the country, Nkwere, Isu, Nwangelenjaba Federal Constituency, Imo State. Mr. Speaker, while I would applaud my brother, the Attorney General of the House, and our Chair, Rules and Business Committee, I'm a little bit bothered about the procedure. Mr. Speaker, if this bill had come before the presidential pronouncement, maybe it would have made more meaning to me, because it would have given an ample opportunity for even the public, by way of the public hearing, to make their input and for us to finalize on the bill. But my worry is that the president had gone ahead to make a presidential pronouncement to say that indeed that June 12th would now be declared Democracy Day. Now, if the president had made that presidential pronouncement, one would expect a follow-up, that the president indeed would have come by way of an executive bill to the House to say that, yes, I have made this pronouncement. Could the National Assembly now back it up by law by making the necessary amendment? So I'm wondering why that was not done, so that it will not look like a great gift to the Southwest and by extension to Nigeria. So my worry is that we should look at the procedure and indeed look inwards to see whether the correct thing would have been for this to come by way of an executive bill, because it has taken quite a long time, since June when the president made his pronouncement, upwards up to November, yet no bill from government asking us to make the necessary amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Whip. Oh, Whip, Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to lend my voice in support of this very amendment, which is the Public Holiday Act. Mr. Speaker, like the previous speakers have said, public holidays are observed maybe for merriment or for remembrance of things that has happened and which has become history to the nations. Mr. Speaker, we all agree that June 12 was a very free and fair election that took place. Mr. Speaker, I applaud Mr. President, but I want to go further to add that Mr. President, in his magnanimity, gave the winner of June 12 the greatest honor in this country, which is GCFR. Very good. Mr. Speaker, it's not only about pronouncement. Today we are seeing election taking place in this country. We remember the case of Oshun. We remember the case of Edo. We remember the case of Ekiti. Is the actions or the words of this administration backed by actions in these few examples I've just stated? So, Mr. Speaker, in as much as we agreed that we need free and fair election in this country, we must back up our words by action. Where a person has failed, we should be magnanimous enough to say, yes, we have failed, and give it to the winner. This is what June 12 was all about. So, Mr. Speaker,
I want to plead with this present government. If we want our democracy to be sustained and to be applauded all over nations, we, as a government now, must be able to accept defeat where they have been defeated. And we should not do anything that will truncate the tenets or the honor we are giving June 12 today. Today in this country, we know how elections have taken place. Where even in the primaries, the so-called internal democracy is not there. I remember when my colleague here, Chika, brought a motion to the floor of this House. We know how people spend their money during the internal party election, where people were shortchanged, people were not allowed to, the people were not allowed to choose their flag bearers. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, these are not the tenets of June 12. So we, as a government today, whether you are in the ruling party or in the opposition, what June 12 stands for is free and fair election, where Nigerians kept aside primordial reasons and elected their leader. This must happen in this government. And it's only when it happens in this government that Mr. MKO Abiola will have a peaceful rest in his grave. But in a situation where people's rights are being truncated, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we have not served the honor that June 12 stands for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sajos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my highly esteemed colleagues. I'm Sergius Jose Ogun, and I represent Eastern Northeast, Eastern Southeast, and I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I am in support of this bill. And like Honorable Jones rightly said, this should have been an executive bill. But we have come to know this government for incompetence, so there's no need dwelling on that. So, Mr. Speaker, there's no need dwelling on that. Mr. Speaker, the leader, Honorable Bade, also, will you be civil and keep quiet? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Bade, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Bade took those words out of my mouth. Mr. President never said anything about June 12th. Well, we appreciate the fact that he has repented of his sins. If anything, he truncated democracy in this country. Now we call it nascent democracy. If he had not removed an elected president, Shagari would not have been learning today. But we have forgiven him all his sins. What I am saying, I'm aligning myself with Honorable Badi. It's not enough to play to the gallery and say you declare June 12th a public holiday. In any case, he did it and nothing happened on June 12th. We went to work. We are giving bites to what his pronouncement by making it a law. This is an advice. Mr. President has told the whole world that 2019 we're going to have free, fair, and credible election. A monkey cannot give birth to a lion. Because like Honorable Bade said, look at all the elections that this president has conducted, or the elections under him. They have not been free. They have not been fair. Yes, because we are talking about June 12th. You are from the Southwest. You probably clamoring for it. We are giving it now. Yeah, because it's the spirit behind it that we are talking about. June 12th was free and fair. That's why we agitated for it. People died for it. And that's why the president was so praised when he had the courage to recognize MKO Abiola and to declare that result. But today, it should not end there. We are saying that we want free, fair, and credible elections. He is saying we will have that in 2019. All the elections under him, they have never been fair. They have not been fair. So what we are saying, he should match words with action. That's what we are saying. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, what we are saying here today, we need to send APC to a school to learn how to be civil. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
one house, please.
Mr. Speaker,
house, one house.
So, Mr. Speaker.
Sergius, please round up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those that cannot even have internal democracy in their party are telling us they are going to conduct a free and fair election. How is it going to happen? In any case, Mr. Speaker, in any case, I'm supporting this bill because we are learned people and people of conscience. We support June 12th. So I urge my colleagues here, the APC members, to go and tell Mr. President he needs to be schooled on democracy. June 12th, we are supporting. Mr. Speaker, just in case others in here, Mr. Speaker.
Please, can you address the chair?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So what I'm saying, I support this bill, but whoever, Mr. President should be told he needs to respect the tenets of democracy, and we want to have a free, fair, and credible election. That is when he will be seen to be standing with the people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chinda.
I urge you all to support this bill.
Honorable Chinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, my name is Kingsley Chinda. I represent Tobiabo Federal Constituency.
I'm not going back this way.
I'm an Ikwere man from Rivers State. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I will start by asking us one simple question. What is the essence? What is the purport? What is the purpose? What is the spirit behind this amendment? Why do we need to change Democracy Day in Nigeria from May 29 to June 12? Now, clearly, whilst we, particularly myself, sympathize with the ideals of June 12, but I think that, like the last speaker said, as a nation, we should learn a lesson from the incident of June 12. And it is that spirit of June 12 that the drafter of this bill intends that should be at play, not just the letter. But let me also ask, May 29, what will happen? There will still be change of button. There will still be that symbol of democracy in this country, whether we amend the Public Holidays Act or not. Every 4 years, on May 29, there must be public holiday in this country. On May 29, every 4 years, there will be change from one administration to the other. And I think that that is the essence of that schedule in the law. On June 12, nothing physical will happen in Nigeria other than a remembrance of what happened several years back. Now, again, what do we intend to achieve? What we are doing is to eternalize by way of a bill the grave injury, the rape of democracy that took place in this country, rather than heal and forget. By amending the Public Holidays Act, what it means is that we will always remember. We can never forgive ourselves for that act. And I don't think that that is the intention of the drafter of this bill. Now, if we also ask ourselves the question which the other speakers have raised, should we join in taking politics this far? The present administration purported to attempt to heal the wound that June 12 brought to bear on all of us when His Excellency, I still call him, Moshood Abiola of blessed memory, was posthumously recognized. But having done that,
Should we continue in that joke? Because we all know that that was done not with clear intention of healing the wound, but with political intention. Let me go further. If it were done with a clear intention, if it were done with clear intention of healing that wound, my dear colleagues, very sincerely, this bill would have been an executive bill. It wouldn't have been a private member bill. They would have quickly followed up to take further steps to ensure that these things are eternalized. But everybody has gone home to sleep because they have achieved the intention of June 12 celebration that took place several months ago. But I clearly associate with Honorable Pajok. He is not involved in the politics, and that's why he has taken a step further to amend this bill. But I can tell you that the executive arm is not in support of this bill. They are not interested in this bill. I stand to be corrected, but I'm speaking on the floor of the Green Chambers.
Can you address the chair, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, if you also ask yourself the question, if truly and sincerely we want to celebrate June 12, has our actions thereafter supported that fact? Several persons here seated in these Green Chambers have suffered great injustice as a result of the just primaries, party primaries that took place. Look at the elections that has taken place after the purported celebration of June 12. What has come out of it? So what lessons are we going to learn? What are we going to achieve, even where we amend the law? That should be our concern. Recently, we conducted an election in Osun State. It was declared inconclusive, and thereafter, what they call Osun 2 was applied, where voters were stopped from accessing the unit unless you either hold a white handkerchief or you give a sign. Is that what we intend to achieve? That is not the spirit behind this. My dear colleagues, let us be sincere to ourselves. We have no other country other than Nigeria. And so whatever step we take, we should take the step putting Nigeria first before our private, personal interest. I don't think that this bill, amendment of this bill, will achieve the purpose for which Honorable Pajok intends that it should achieve. It will not. It will rather keep reminding us of what we ordinarily should forget. Let me remind us, when people seek for forgiveness, what they say is forgive and forget. This bill perhaps might preach forgiveness, but what it will achieve is that we will never forget. Therefore, I will urge us to please refuse the amendment of the Public Holidays Act by deleting May 29, which is a symbolic day that activities of democracy will take place every 4 years in this country, and replacing it with June 12. I would therefore not support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my dear colleagues.
I want to bring Churuka.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Colleagues, I am Kiruka Onyejocha. I represent the good people of Isuwatu Munoj Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to speak on this very important motion. Number one, I support this bill in all its entirety. And I've listened to my colleagues, both people from this divide or the other divide. But the truth of the matter is, we must tell ourselves the truth. All of us are involved. All of us. Both the person that preach righteousness in this particular matter. Let us ask ourselves, we come from several states. Those states that we come from, are they not Nigerians? Won't June 12 apply to local government elections? Everybody is involved We are all offenders to this particular crime. And so when we are saying we should change, when we are calling on the president and we are saying that he may not be sincere about June 12th, in your word, are you sincere about the person who is going to win councillor? Most of us are putting our aides, even where nobody wants them. That's the truth. And we have been here. And whatever we say, we have not remembered that June 12th is important. And if somebody says, oh, it is important, and we are inputting motive, we are not being fair. And our colleagues have said, yes, it could be a policy statement. Oh, there should be public holiday, but without backing of the law. Then we are supporting him that there will be backing, so that it won't just be one pronouncement that will not be backed by law. And that's what we are doing. But I am also appealing that you cannot change the world if you are not changed. It can start from us today. It can start from our respective booths, respective wards. All of us have interests who want to win. But the truth of the matter, are we Christian or are we true Muslims when it comes to voting? Do we vote our conscience? Do we even support the people that our constituencies are supporting? We are leaders in our own right, and we have preferences. So if we start from ourselves, then it will trickle down to the president, who is just one person in one constituency. President, as far as I'm concerned, is just one person. If all Nigerians decide today that we are going to vote according to the demand of people and according to integrity, it will change. We knew when election was conducted during Yar'Adua, he came to say that this election was flawed. He was a president, but he said it. That's somebody who would say that he meant well. And President has said, I will ensure free, fair, and credible election in 2019. And he said so. I'm a believer. If he says so, I will believe it and I will walk it. It is left for us to walk the talk. We can't sit down here and assume.
Honorable Nkiruka, can you please round up?
We can't sit down here and input
colleagues, order.
A pronouncement made by a president, instead of us praying that let it be according to your own word, in Jesus' name. That's what we are supposed to do as Christians. Muslims should say, Alam Durahim or what? Let it come, because you have said it, because there is power in your spoken words. If the man has said there will be free, fair, and credible election, why are we not supporting him to say, let it be so? Let it be so. Free, fair, and credible election in 2019. I am Kiruka. I believe in tomorrow. I don't believe yesterday. Yesterday is gone. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I believe that this bill is timeless. And I also believe that we'll hold people on what they say. If he said so, let us support him to make sure that there is free, fair, and credible election.
Honorable Chinda, order in the House.
Starting from our various constituencies, starting from our leaders, starting from our governors who just sit down and write results of local government elections.
This is the Nigerian Television Authority on live transmission of proceedings in the House of Representatives. The lawmakers are at this moment making contributions on a bill for an act to amend the Public Holidays Act, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, which seeks to bring the act in tandem with the current realities and exigencies of the modern times, and to declare June 12 as Democracy Day in Nigeria. The bill is being sponsored by Honorable Edward Yang Pojok and Honorable Kayode Oladele. Before now, members had received some reports from committees one of which was the report from the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values on the bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Television Authority Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. And this is where we draw the curtains on today's live transmission. I'm Lami Ali. We thank you for being with us as we resume regular programming.
In the past centuries, named